Welcome to the Today's Soapbox podcast. So, this is a special first episode to accompany my final article of the year. That article is Today's Soapbox Top 10 of 2025. I'll be taking a break to enjoy the year end holidays, and I hope to be back in the new year. But until then, you have the print version to enjoy and this episode to listen to on repeat. The web version of this article is significantly more condensed, while this audio version has been rewritten and is more fleshed out. This podcast is sponsored by the Today's Soapbox website, which you can access at today's-soapbox.com. That is todays-soapbox.com. If you want to support the work I'm doing there to promote independent journalism, you can find details on the website on how to support with your engagement and money if you're willing. My name is S, and I am the main writer for Today's Soapbox. This is the first year of Today's Soapbox, so I wanted to share some of the stats from the last few months. So the first article was published on July 21st, and a total of 10 have been published since. These articles are carefully reviewed by an editor, MVO, and they're published bi-weekly. So the first Suds review was published on November 3rd, and a total of 4 have been published since. These are more loosely edited and are more informal. These articles are accessible to paid subscribers for $2 a month or $20 a year, and they are released in the off weeks between main articles. So, my top most viewed article this year was Meet American Girl, a nuanced look at the dolls that radicalized a generation. To celebrate the end of 2025, I wanted to look back at some of the pop culture moments and figures that stand out from this year. This year, I chose 10 influential people, 10 films or shows that premiered this year, and 10 songs released this year. It can be super hard to narrow down, but I did my best to highlight a variety of people and pay attention to the resounding messages of the year. These selections were made with popularity, cultural impact, and my personal opinion in mind, and they appear in alphabetical order. My intention is to keep most of the episode light and politics free, but at the end of the day, politics was a huge part of this year, and a lot of the topics that come up will have political implications. I happen to enjoy talking about politics, so just be forewarned that it will come up. You'll probably disagree with at least one thing I say, but that's okay. I will also wrap up with my predictions for next year and then some of the honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut for this year. The first category to discuss are 10 films and shows released this calendar year. Before we get started, I want to plug my subscription program on today's Soapbox. Suds gives you my raw and unedited opinions on new films and pop culture subjects. The price of the subscription is $2 a month, but you can get a discount by subscribing for the full year and one go for $20. Now, let's get back to the list. I'm going to try not to spoil any of these stories, so this should be spoiler free and safe. The first film or show on my list is the Netflix limited series Adolescence. This show can be hard to watch, but it is so necessary, and I'm so glad it was made. The story follows a young teenage boy living in the UK who is taken into the police station after being arrested for allegedly being involved in the murder of one of his classmates. An aspect of this show that makes it so special is that each episode is shot in one continuous take, giving the audience a sense of the time and space in which it takes place. The camera changes location in real time with the actors in a way that the viewer can feel like they live in the space and are witnesses to the unfolding of the plot. Adolescence also features a breakout performance from Owen Cooper, who won an Emmy for the role. Cooper was 14 when the show was filmed, so the casting is age appropriate for the character of Jamie Miller. It's his debut role, and he's phenomenal and performs well along seasoned actors like Stephen Graham, who plays Jamie's father Eddie, and wrote the show. Cooper will be playing a younger version of Jacob Elordi's Heathcliff in the upcoming adaptation of Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, set to be released next year. Adolescents tackled misogyny learned from internet spaces so well that the UK government has made steps to have it shown in schools to prevent gender-based violence in teens. The next film on this list may be one of my top 3 personal favorites of the year. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is incredibly touching and emotional. It was released for a limited theatrical run before going to Netflix. It has been put on the 2026 Oscars shortlist in 6 of the 12 technical categories announced so far. That's cinematography, makeup and hairstyling, original score, sound, visual effects, and casting, which is a new category this year. And Del Toro stepped away from the classic visual interpretation of Frankenstein's monster, which is like the green skin with the bolts in his neck. He leaned into the way he imagined the creature to look based on Mary Shelley's novel. The film features reliably good performances like Oscar Isaac, Mia Goth, and Christoph Waltz, who are all incredible in their roles. But the standout among the cast is Jacob Elordi, who is absolutely captivating in this role as the creature. I anxiously anticipate the announcement of the shortlist for the Oscars acting categories, and I would love to see him nominated and, frankly, winning. He has excellent chemistry with every other performer he interacts with on screen. On top of that, he nails the physicality of the role. It is clear that he put in the time to refine the look and feel of the character and the way he moves, and it translates really well for the audience. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on this film, I have reviewed it for Suds in even more detail. The next film on the list is also a Netflix project like the last two. Sony Animation's K-pop Demon Hunters took the world by storm when it was released on Netflix. It is incredibly fun and pretty different from other kids' movies coming out right now. Other movies for kids that came out this year, like Zootopia 2 and a Minecraft movie, draw on existing audiences. Filmmakers took a risk with KPDH by creating new IP instead of a sequel, prequel, or book adaptation. So the soundtrack is incredibly good and ended up being very successful. It brought K-pop to a young audience that's found community with other fans. One of the songs is a very strong Oscars contender that the world would love to watch win. I'll discuss that song more in depth once I move on to the songs that define this year. Netflix already plans to release sequels and will continue to explore this world further, so this may be the last of its kind in the series. Sony Animation also brought us the Spider-Verse films, which are delayed. KPDH is no different as they're currently shooting for a 2029 release for the next sequel. Core fan base may shift over the next 4 years, but I would love to see this film enjoy a Frozen like success with new fans falling in love with it as they grow. For a track by track review of the soundtrack and a description of the plot, you can access my review of this film on Suds. The next film is finally not a Netflix film. The next film on the list is Mickey 17. Based on the 2022 novel by Edward Ashton, Mickey 7, this film tells the story of an expendable employee who is cloned every time he dies. When he's wrongfully declared dead, his clone is already in production and he ends up existing at the same time as his clone, Mickey 18. This provides Robert Pattinson the opportunity to essentially play twins. He makes interesting character choices with the voices of the characters and the way he differentiates the two. Pattinson is funny and charming in this role, and that is due to his chemistry with Naomi Ackie and the way they play off each other. The story he and Ackie are able to tell is super interesting and explores dystopian ideas in a timely way. There's an undercurrent of an anti fascism message that provokes a lot of thought. This movie is quite weird, but I found it to be really enjoyable. I happen to be a big fan of Robert Pattinson and Naomi Ackie, and I love their performances as Mickey and Nasha. I also decided to read the book this year, and I enjoyed it as well. For those reasons, I added this film to the list as my personal pick that did not make as broad of a cultural impact, but I enjoyed it. The next film on the list is One Battle After Another. Now, I wrote this script about 15 minutes after finishing watching the film. It's streaming now, so I had initially written a review based on other reviews and Oscars buzz, but I delayed the recording of this episode so that I could speak about it clearly after having seen the film. So now I can say the story follows a man played by Leonardo DiCaprio and his daughter played by Chase Infinity, who are forced out of hiding when her parents' past comes back to haunt them. It's directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. The film is classified as a black comedy action thriller. It deals with the discussion of white supremacy, resistance, and what it means to be a family. So I really like DiCaprio and Infinity together. Their dynamic feels a lot like other popular stories right now. It's got like a disgruntled, reluctant dad and then a spunky, tough daughter. Think like Joel and Ellie in The Last of Us or Hopper and Eleven in Stranger Things. DiCaprio's character is called Bob Ferguson, which cracks me up because that's the name of the governor of Washington State. So I thought that was interesting. This film was nominated 5 times on the Oscars shortlist. That's for casting, cinematography, makeup and hairstyling, original score, and sound. The film, I would say, is very likely to be nominated in the acting and production categories as well. Next on my list is another show called The Pit. The Pit is a medical procedural drama based in Pittsburgh that is produced by John Wells, who's the producer of ER, and stars Noah Wiley, who is in ER as well. So Wiley won 2 Emmys for this show because he was both the star and an executive producer. So each episode contains an hour of work in the emergency department. So the season gradually shows a day in the life of the staff, but over the course of a season. The pacing of it is not dissimilar to that of Adolescence, where it's more real time. It's also capturing snippets of an experience. Medical professionals found the show to be accurate and cathartic as it more accurately portrayed experiences in their field. So I have not seen the entire series in full. However, I have many people around me who have and are anxiously awaiting the arrival of the next season. And the next season comes out next month in January 2026. It successfully combines nostalgia for the show ER with real experiences and genuine care for medical workers. The next film is another film would consider for my top 3 favorites of the year. That is Sinners. So, director Ryan Coogler and frequent collaborator Michael B. Jordan strike again with this period supernatural horror film. It's set in Mississippi in 1932, and it discusses issues of race and racism and music and family. So, the music of the film, I don't have enough nice words to say about it. It's infectious. So, they used composer Ludwig Göransson, who worked on The Mandalorian, and he developed like a blues-based soundtrack in collaboration with Coogler to ensure it like evoked the specific feelings intended. It also includes folk and blues songs performed by the cast members. So this film is for sure going to have a presence at the Oscars in 2026. It has already been placed in 8 of the 12 categories on the Oscars shortlist, so that makes it tied with Wicked for Good for the most nominations so far. It was nominated for cinematography, makeup and hairstyling, original score, sound, visual effects, and in the inaugural casting category. So the film was also nominated twice for Best Original Song. So with that, Miles Caton debuts in this film and sings the 2 nominated songs in the film. They're I Lied to You and Last Time I Seen the Sun. He's an incredible performer, and he really holds his own alongside seasoned professionals and alongside 2 Michael B. Jordans. I would really love to see Caton and Jordan nominated in the acting categories. That's just me hoping. I watched this movie with absolutely 0 prior knowledge on it, so every plot point was a complete and total surprise for me. Literally, the only thing I knew going into it is that there were 2 Michael B. Jordans. So, for that reason, I'm not gonna talk about the story because I want you to have the opportunity to walk into it as uninformed as I did so you can experience all the surprises. The next film on the list is a film I saw 3 times in the cinemas this year. It's Superman. So James Gunn is known for his work with Marvel Studios on the Guardians of the Galaxy films. He released his film interpretation of the beloved DC Comics character Superman this year. He introduced David Corenswet as Clark Kent, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, and Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. And fans were really quick to embrace this new cast and the lighter tone of this film compared to previous DC projects. The film is bright and colorful, especially in contrast to the other recent DC releases, such as the Joker films and The Batman. The Batman is one of my personal favorite superhero projects, but it is dark in lighting and in tone, whereas Superman is very visually engaging to watch. You can really see what's going on without squinting. So the film still contained political messaging and subsequent controversy, as it included Clark's story as a refugee from a dying planet and his care for other vulnerable populations outside of the US. It prompts audiences to think about how the US government would handle the presence of a superpowered alien in foreign relations. The conflict between Moravia and Jarampur reminded audiences of the dynamics of Russia and Ukraine or Israel and Palestine. So, one of the figures who criticized the so called woke version of Superman was former Superman actor Dean Cain. I wrote about this situation more in depth in my free article, A Tale of Two Supermen. Clark Kent has always been a refugee, and he was originally created by 2 writers from Jewish immigrant families, so these issues are woven into the fabric of the character. Superman was shortlisted for the Oscars in 2 categories: sound and visual effects. A sequel is in the works called Man of Tomorrow and is set to release in 2027 with Corrin Sweat and Holt returning as Clark and Lex. And in 2026, Supergirl, starring Millie Alcock reprising her role as Kara Zor-El, will be released, so this franchise is set to continue to expand. The most recent release on this list is Wake Up Dead Man, which is the third film in Ryan Johnson's Knives Out series. Like the second Knives Out film, Wake Up Dead Man enjoyed a short theatrical run before it was released to Netflix. So this film has Detective Benoit Blanc and the comedic notes of the other films, but deals with entirely different themes. The first film discusses family, the second discusses money, and this one discusses religion. With Josh O'Connor by his side as Father Judd Duplessis, Daniel Craig returns with another murder mystery laced with humor and social commentary. The sets, lighting, and costumes especially stand out in this film, evoking a gothic setting in a local Catholic church in upstate New York. So, this film contains characters who are religious and also characters who are not, and respects them both. They're both allowed to voice their opinions and beliefs, but is respected and understood. Father Judd is seen having a desire for justice and empathy as he opposes religious abuse while also taking the time to care for the people of his community. So, in classic Knives Out fashion, the film has an ensemble cast made up of well known celebrities. This film added Josh Brolin, Glenn Close, Andrew Scott, Kerry Washington, and more as characters that drive the story and present compelling suspects with individual motivations. They're written thoughtfully, and they highlight the skills of the cast members. Fans anticipate these films each time they come out, and this one has been hailed as potentially better than the first. I could gush about this film forever, but I will stop so we can get through the last entry on this list. The final film on this list, Wicked for Good, was one of the most anticipated films of the year. It's a sequel to Wicked, which was released last year. So the film was highly anticipated by fans of the first film and fans of the Broadway musical. The film contains more beloved songs from the Broadway production, including two new ones written for this film by the original composer of the Broadway musical. The impact of this film was seen in the sheer volume of brand collaborations and marketing done to promote the film. Everywhere you looked, there was a commercial or a poster advertising the film. The trailer played constantly, and fans made plans to enjoy it on the big screen. Both films received praise from fans and critics alike and box office success. So I did not enjoy this film as much as I did the previous one, but I found it to still be enjoyable. I reviewed the film in depth in a paid Suds article available to subscribers if anyone wants like 3,000 words of my opinion on that film. So the stars, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, were nominated for Oscars last year for the first film, and time will tell if they'll be nominated again. This film is tied with Sinners for the most nominations in the 2026 Oscars shortlist. These categories are casting, cinematography, makeup and hairstyling, original score, sound, and visual effects. So, like Sinners, it also has two songs shortlisted for Best Original Song. That is the two original songs written for the film, The Girl in the Bubble and No Place Like Home. So, you may notice that these two films are nominated in the exact same categories. Pretty much everything but like documentary and animated. So, this film wrapped up the story of the Broadway musical, but there are other books in the Wicked book series that we could see adapted to film. The next category is my picks for top 10 songs of the year. To be clear, these will likely not align with chart data, but that data was taken into account to make sure that popularity was considered. Due to copyright laws, I cannot play you any snippets of the songs, but the web version of this article has links to the songs embedded so you can listen on Spotify. It's really hard to talk about songs without playing them, so this section will be more rapid fire. The first song on this list is Abracadabra by Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga debuted this song and its music video during a commercial break at the Super Bowl to promote her new album, Mayhem. The video showed that Lady Gaga is still a capable performer and dancer. She also performed this song at her 2025 Coachella set. The song is a return to a nostalgic Gaga sound heard in songs like Bad Romance and Poker Face. This return to form excited fans as Gaga experienced another resurgence. She also released a song for season 2 of Wednesday, which she was also cast in. Her song Bloody Mary went viral after season 1 was released, and a sped up version of the song was overlaid over the dance scene. Like any good pop song in the 2020s, it sparked dance trends on TikTok that featured a variety of choreographers and dancers interpreting it. The original choreography still reigned supreme with people trying it excitedly. The choreographer was Paris Goebel, who also choreographed Rihanna's halftime show, which had a similar impact. The next song is Apatow by Bruno Mars and Rosé. The collaboration era of Bruno Mars has brought us several hits this year, but Apatow stands out to me. It's upbeat, catchy, and easy to listen to. It's a classic, mindless pop song to sing along with as it plays over the radio on your commute to work because it is fun and happy. I've heard kids singing it, and it has become my go to song for getting a baby to stop crying. Rosé is a member of the K pop girl group Blackpink, which you know from songs like How You Like That and Kill This Love. She very much complements Mars's sound. She incorporates her Korean culture by introducing listeners to the term apato, which is a Korean drinking game frequently played in apartments. She and Mars are both hitmakers in their own right, but their energy when working together is special. The song ended the year at the number 3 spot for top songs globally on Spotify. Ahead of it was Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga's Die with a Smile and Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish. The next song on the list is Baile Inolvidable, a track off of Bad Bunny's wildly successful 2025 album. The song title translates to Unforgettable Dance, alluding to the song's message about lifelong love and its impacts. I wanted to highlight the lyrics of the refrain, and they read, No, no te puedo olvidar, no, no te puedo borrar, tú me enseñaste a querer, me enseñaste a bailar. This translates to, No, I can't forget you. No, I can't erase you. You showed me how to love. You showed me how to dance. Every time I listen to the refrain, it moves me emotionally and makes me think of the unforgettable people in my past who impacted me. The song is Bad Bunny's first salsa song, which directly aligns with it being a story that hinges on dance. This is also a nod to Puerto Rican heritage and culture. It ends the year at number 2 on the Billboard Latin Songs chart, and it was ranked by the Los Angeles Times as the best song of the year. The next song is Eternity by Alex Warren. While Ordinary is the more popular song off of his first studio album, Eternity is deeply moving lyrically and musically. Alex Warren has been in the influencer space for several years now, but this year he was launched into the mainstream with his hit album You'll Be Alright Kid. The album was number 7 on Spotify's top albums globally this year. Eternity deals with the death of his parents and his new relationship with and view of them now that they are on the other side. He lost his father at the age of 9 and his mother just a few years ago in 2021. The song was widely used for edits on social media due to its emotional quality and sweeping instrumentals. Warren was inspired by worship music, and this song feels like the most definitive proof of that. He incorporates choral arrangements throughout the album, and this song utilizes dynamic contrast to emphasize those features. The next song on the list is The Fate of Ophelia by Taylor Swift. No one can deny Swift's ability to write a popular album with tunes that hit the mainstream discourse. In the wake of the release of her latest album, The Fate of Ophelia seems to be the big song that has reached non Swiftie audiences. While I have taken issue with the characterization of Shakespeare's Ophelia, which I detail in the free article Another Year, Another Taylor Swift Album, this song is quite catchy. I cannot deny the fact that I have listened to it multiple times since my review of the album by choice. I wish it would have been written more thoughtfully to properly portray Ophelia. YouTuber Avery Talks About Stuff analyzed this song's characterization and likened Swift to the character of Gertrude, and suggested that may be a more appropriate literary reference. Swift considers herself the world's English teacher, so I personally believe this connection should have been more thought out, rather than an aesthetic choice. Swift's attempt to spur a dance trend to this song seems a little bit forced, in my opinion. She's now competing with a wide variety of female pop stars, many of whom are younger. Her role in the industry is always changing as she ages and maintains her fame in a way other artists have not. Her desire to stay relevant is shown as she adapts to new methods of marketing, including TikTok. Swift holds a lot of power in the music industry, and with her constant output of songs and associated promo, it's hard not to include her in a list of top artists and songs. The next song is Gabriella by girl group Cat's Eye. There is not a world in which Cat's Eye didn't have at least one song on the list this year. They were in that unforgettable Gap ad, and they seem to be performing everywhere. While Gnarly and Touch are wonderful options for the best Cat's Eye song, Gabriella is my favorite. The song is essentially Dolly Parton's Jolene Reloaded, but the genre could not be more different. Now, the song is fun, easy to dance to, and it features a bridge in Spanish. The bridge is sung by group member Daniela Avancini, who has Venezuelan and Cuban roots and is fluent in English and Spanish. The group itself is unique, and their music highlights their range of talents and backgrounds. Cat's Eye is considered a global girl group as they have 6 members from 4 countries. They sound really good as a group, but also individually. The band was formed through a competition show, so each member had to fight for their spot. This means each member can really hold their own as a performer, which shines in this song. Words fail to express the impact this next song had. Golden, performed by the fictional band Huntrix in the film K-pop Demon Hunters, was the song of the summer. It spent 8 weeks at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 chart. The song was inescapable in a way we haven't really seen since Let It Go. Now, the catch is that this time, adults and teenagers didn't find the song annoying or overplayed. They were here for it. The impact of K-pop Demon Hunters is due in part to the success of its soundtrack. Golden is definitely the biggest song and has become the anthem for the film. It has led to performance opportunities for the singing voice cast of Huntrix on late night television and even the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Golden has been played on the radio, in retail stores, at schools, and even childcare centers. The optimistic message is contagious and loved by children and adults alike. It ended this year at number 7 on the list of the top 10 songs globally on Spotify and number 6 in the US. The song also appeared alongside 15 other original songs on the 2026 Oscars shortlist. The next song on the list is one that I decided to shoehorn in because it is my personal favorite song released this year. The song is The Hand by Annabelle Dinda. Dinda premiered this infectious song in a TikTok to immediate success and enthusiasm from her audience, including me. The singer songwriter explored the female experience in a way that was gritty and relatable. Fans were covering the song for weeks before it was even released in full on Spotify. I remember saving so many covers, including one in French, to my favorites and going back to listen to them over and over again. Recently, actress Rachel Zegler covered the song on her personal social media, which continues to show the song to more audiences. One of the great compliments a song can get on social media is for TikTok editors to see its potential and connect it to pop culture and film moments. This song, even before it was officially released, was connected to film heroines and various other female figures who've had to fight for their standing. The song drew on feelings many women were experiencing and channeled it into infectious music. The song has not reached the popularity of other songs on this list, but it is my personal addition for its lyricism, story, and its uniqueness. I've listened to it dozens of times and it has not yet lost its sparkle. The next song on the list is Man I Need by Olivia Dean. Man I Need is a classic example of an easy listening song. It is incredibly soothing while still being catchy. Released for her second studio album, The Art of Loving, it has charted and been loved by fans. If I had to describe the vibe of Dean's music in one word, I think I would choose groovy. Her music is great for walking or completing tasks because it has a consistent drive. Her voice is super nice, and fans say she sounds just as good live in concert. Olivia Dean announced a tour taking place in 2026. When fans tried to buy tickets, they were faced with difficulties from scalpers and resellers on Ticketmaster. Dean was able to secure refunds for fans who bought from resellers, setting a precedent for artists working with Ticketmaster in the future. I wrote an article about this situation that you can read for free on my website called The Art of Defeating Ticketmaster. I'm looking forward to watching the continued rise of Olivia Dean and seeing what comes next for her. The final song on the list is Revolving Door by Tate McRae. I know that Sports Car is a bigger song, but the artistry of Revolving Door is impressive. Both songs are on McRae's third studio album, So Close to What, which was the number 7 top album in the US according to Spotify for this year. Tate McRae is an incredible dancer, and this song lets her showcase her skills differently. The Revolving Door music video was choreographed by Robbie Blue. There is no way to describe McRae's dance ability, so I've included a link in the web version of this article to the first dance move in the music video. It's a backbend leg extension, starts upright and then she flips over and does it on the ground. Again, I can't even describe it, so just look for the Tate McRae revolving door backbend online. Many dancers on social media have since tried to replicate it, but McRae's ability to dance in heels is genuinely insane. With one of the most impressive music videos of the year, McRae asserts herself as one of the most versatile pop stars working right now. Some fans invoke the name of Britney Spears when comparing McRae to her predecessors, but time will tell where she goes from here. The last category is my picks for 10 influential people that made headlines and created impact this year. The first person on the list is Miss Rachel, also known as Rachel Accurso. You know Miss Rachel from the educational content she makes for young children and infants. She creates videos to entertain audiences while teaching sign language, first words, and songs with a team of performers that includes her husband Aaron. The videos are made with accessibility in mind, so any child anywhere can enjoy them. Ms. Rachel used her platform this year to advocate for children. Her kids' content remains fairly apolitical, but her adult facing social media presence is more about activism and advocacy. Her area of focus is vulnerable children around the world. This year, she drew criticism for her advocacy for Palestinian children, which has included raising awareness of the genocide in Gaza, meeting evacuated refugee children, and sending encouraging messages to children still living in Gaza. She was named as a candidate for Anti Semite of the Year 2025 by pro Israel organization Stop Anti Semitism, who characterized her on their website as a mouthpiece of Hamas. The specific criticisms they provide include allegations of spreading propaganda by accusing the Israeli government of violating the Geneva Convention and bombing children, claims which the United Nations agrees with. This has not stopped her. While being honored as a Woman of the Year for Glamour magazine, she wore a dress with embroidered designs hand drawn by Gazan children that represent their lives and stories. She also brought pictures of the children with their drawings to be able to turn attention to them and their ongoing experiences. In the last couple days, she's posted a memorial post for Matilda, the young girl killed in the anti Semitic Bondi Beach attacks on the first night of Hanukkah. So she's continuing to show that her advocacy knows no bounds. The next person on my list is Suzanne Collins, the author of the beloved book and now film series, The Hunger Games. This year, she released Sunrise on the Reaping, a prequel novel exploring the past of Hamish Abernathy, who is Katniss Everdeen and Peeta Mellark's mentor from the original trilogy. The novel sold 1.5 million copies worldwide in its first week alone. Her books are known for their timely political messaging, addressing issues such as government corruption, propaganda, exploitation, and classism. The film adaptation of the novel will be released in cinemas November 20th, 2026. The rollout of the casting for this film went viral as they posted small groups of casting announcements sporadically and unpredictably. Several fan favorite casting options were confirmed, building excitement for fans. The teaser was released a year to the date of next year's film release, which amplified the momentum of this film. Collins' writing gets more relevant over time, especially the social commentary of the wealth gap between the districts and the capital. Ironically, in the last couple days, Donald Trump has announced his intention to host the Patriot Games, a competition of athletics that will feature a male and a female high school athlete from each state, pretty much bar for bar the Hunger Games, but without the fight to the death. So we'll see how that goes, but Suzanne Collins remains relevant, as does her work. The next person on my list is Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was killed at Utah Valley University on September 10th, 2025. Kirk was known for his right wing activism. He was one of the co founders of Turning Point USA, a conservative organization for students. His death was massive news and has continued to dominate headlines as the suspect has begun appearing in court. Kirk's televised memorial service had over 5 million viewers and featured speeches from various people in the Trump administration. Speakers included his widow, Vice President J.D. Vance, members of Trump's cabinet such as Secretaries Pete Hegseth and RFK Jr., and even Trump himself. His death led to widespread conversation about political violence, free speech, and gun violence. His murder was the result of gun violence on a college campus and seems to have been politically motivated, but the information known about the suspect doesn't amount to much. In the wake of the event, his previous comments about these issues recirculated, inserting his voice further into these conversations. The discussion of free speech was multifaceted. One aspect was how Kirk was killed while speaking at a debate focused event that hinged on open communication about tense political topics. MAGA aligned conservatives immediately spoke up, saying that he did not deserve to die because of his views that he's allowed to express due to his constitutional rights. Plenty of people were not complimentary of the life he lived, so they were critical of his views even after his death. This opinion, which was at times expressed inappropriately and insensitively, was immediately opposed by his fans. Vance encouraged supporters to call out people who appeared to have been celebrating Kirk's death or speaking positively about it, and even go as far as to report them to their employers. Now, the constitutional protection of the freedom of speech does not protect Americans from consequences of their speech. You can still lose your job, lose your friends, or become involved in conflict as a result of the things you choose to say on either side of the political spectrum. His widow, Erica Kirk, has taken over much of his work and presence in political conversations. She's actively engaging in the promotion of her late husband's book, Stop in the Name of God Why Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life, a book about Sabbath observance as an act of resistance. The next person is a very harsh pivot. This year's Super Bowl halftime show was headlined by Kendrick Lamar off the heels of his success with Not Like Us, the death blow in his feud with fellow rapper Drake. Kendrick Lamar swept all five major categories at the 2025 Grammy Awards, beating other tough contenders like Espresso and Good Luck Babe with this song. It also prompted several trends on social media and went viral across a variety of platforms and audiences. Performances of the song on various stages featured a variety of celebrities, such as the halftime show featuring Serena Williams and SNL cast members during the 50th anniversary celebration. On top of the rap beef, Lamar also released an album and toured with SZA, bringing his music to the forefront of mainstream conversation and making strides for the rap genre. Not Like Us was actually released all the way back in May 2024, and his album was released later that year in November. It's almost hard to believe that they are already a year old, especially when the Grammys and the halftime show occurred in early February of 2025, just about a week apart from each other. For another insane pivot, our next person is Pope Leo XIV. After the death of Pope Francis in April, the Catholic Church got its first American pope in Chicago born Pope Leo XIV. His papacy began in May 2025, and the conclave to choose him for the role was excitedly followed by millions around the world. The world was tuned in partly due to the fact they understood the papal selection process for the first time after the release of Best Picture nominee Conclave. Americans were unusually invested this time around. Getting an American pope feels like a personal win for many people living in the US. It's like the Olympics or the World Cup. You tune in every day to see which color smoke is released and you wait to find out the details. Now, I'm not Catholic, but I wanted to win Conclave, even though it has very minimal impact on my life and faith. This time, we had all just watched the film Conclave and were prepared to actually understand the process this time around. Pope Leo has already taken a stance against the Trump administration, specifically criticizing the president and his immigration policies. He has advocated for the humane treatment of migrants and refugees, citing scriptures that contradict the politics in his own country. There are many Bible verses to refer back to about how God wants his people to treat foreigners. Spoiler alert, it's nicely. So it is important for God fearing people of faith to stand up for these issues. He also noted that people who claim to be pro life in terms of abortion but are okay with inhumane treatment of immigrants and the death penalty are not actually pro life. The next figure of note this year is Mayor elect of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. He and his election represent a new kind of politician and campaign strategy. I wrote about this phenomenon in more detail in my article, A New Kind of Campaign Gen Z, Social Media, and Mamdani's Big Win, so you can click over there to know more about his opponents and what stood out. Despite being faced with Islamophobia and racism, he persisted and won the election. His platform was very controversial as he refused to speak positively about Israel or Netanyahu and focused almost exclusively on affordability in New York City. He reminded voters that his scope is New York City, not the entire US or Israel. As a democratic socialist, his ideas tended to be rejected by conservative voters and embraced by progressives. Many Democratic leaders didn't endorse Mamdani after he became the Democratic nominee, like Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, or only endorsed him right before the polls opened, like House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries, a Brooklyn Democrat. Mamdani is incredibly charismatic and likable as a person, and it also doesn't hurt that he's handsome. He's outspoken about his views and experiences as an immigrant. Many saw this as a new thing they hadn't seen before. They were used to fumbling career politicians who were in it for profit. While he is incredibly popular with young voters across the country, many have vowed to hold him accountable as a politician instead of a personality when he assumes the role of mayor in 2026. Next on the list is Benito Martinez Ocasio, or Bad Bunny, who had a wildly successful year in 2025 with a new album, a residency in Puerto Rico, several Saturday Night Live appearances, and the announcement of his halftime performance at the 2026 Super Bowl. Despite being an extremely popular artist with a worldwide audience, his selection as the halftime performer was controversial due to the fact he performs primarily in Spanish. I have an article about this on today's soapbox called Benito Bowl: Why is a Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show so controversial that you can read for free right now. His international success was cemented further when Spotify announced him as the world's top artist for a fourth year after having previously claimed it in 2020, 2021, and 2022. He was followed by Taylor Swift in second place. He also won World's Top Album for his January album release Debí Tirar Más Fotos. He was followed by the K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack in second place. Bad Bunny appeared on SNL this year as a host, a musical guest, and at the homecoming concert celebrating the 50th season. His 31-show residency, No Me Quiero Ir de Aquí, which translates to I Don't Want to Leave Here, ran from July to September of 2025. The 31st show had tickets reserved for Puerto Rico residents. The residency brought tourists and celebrities to the island to see his concert and learn about Puerto Rico. It was a celebration of cultural identity that showcased Boricua pride. The next person on the list is Elon Musk. After the inauguration of President Trump, Elon Musk was put in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency. Musk was tasked with finding areas of excess government spending and eliminating them. At the surface level, this is good. In practice, that is debatable. Before its disbanding in November 2025, Doge cut foreign aid and terminated federal workers. According to the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, the cuts to U.S. aid have led to hundreds of thousands of deaths. At the same time, Musk's wealth grew. He became the first person to be worth $500 billion less than a year after becoming the first person to cross $400 billion. Musk also had a fallout with President Trump over disagreements over Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, leading to an exchange of social media attacks and constant insults. They ultimately made up and were seen together at Charlie Kirk's memorial service. This was also a year of growth, and by that I mean growing his family. Musk had two new children announced this year, one with conservative influencer Ashley St. Clair in February, and one with Neuralink executive Siobhan Zillis mere weeks later in early March. This is his fourth known child with Zillis. These 2025 announcements bring his total to 14 publicly known children, which puts him ahead of Nick Cannon, who has 12. The next person on the list is Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift could honestly be put on this list almost every year. Every album breaks records in both sales and streams. Her newest album is no different. If you want to hear my thoughts on that album specifically, I wrote about it in depth in a free article on today's soapbox called Another Year, Another Taylor Swift Album. This was a big year for Swift. Her announcement of her engagement to football player Travis Kelce and her subsequent album announcement on his podcast New Heights brought attention to both of their careers. Her choice to announce TS12 on Kelce's podcast further linked them and brought her fans to his platform in droves. Swift also had major career milestones in 2025. Her 2025 album, The Life of a Showgirl, included nods to her relationship with Kelce and assured fans that she was very happy with him. She also bought back her master recordings in May 2025 after having lost control of them to Scooter Braun. Two of the major themes that span her music catalog are the loss of her agency and control over her masters, as well as her search for a partner. This year felt like a fulfillment and resolution to these chapters. Swift's life began a new chapter this year as a fiancée and the owner of all her music after years of re recordings and dissatisfying relationships with other partners. This year represents personal success for her in addition to her usual career success. The final person on this list is someone you may know from Home Alone 2, Late Night Truth Social posts, and seemingly every SNL cold open. It's President Donald Trump. As President of the United States, Trump enjoyed a massive platform this year to spread his agenda. After his second inauguration in January of 2025, he immediately went to work with sweeping tariffs, funding cuts for various departments and programs, and a crackdown on immigration and empowerment of immigration and customs enforcement. His actions were met with massive nationwide protests and groups of international protests opposing his efforts. He became especially prolific on social media as he was constantly posting on Truth Social and giving Americans a near constant view into his mindset. His controversies also extended to his personal life as his alleged relationship with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was exposed. His campaign for the 2024 election promised transparency with the Epstein files. He has denied involvement with Epstein's victims. As much as I want to avoid discussing politics on this episode, I feel a responsibility to condemn a few of his recent actions, so please bear with me. Firstly, his use of the R word, an ableist slur, in a post referring to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is horrible. Disabilities are not a joke nor an insult, and using this kind of language is stigmatizing. As of recording this, the latest Trump controversy is his response to the murders of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner. People on both sides of the political spectrum have reacted negatively to his posts that accuse Reiner of being killed as a result of his Trump derangement syndrome and outspoken opposition to Trump and his policies. I would like to make it clear that this is wildly inappropriate, not fitting for a president to say publicly or privately, and especially not fitting for someone who professes to be a Christian who wants to go to heaven. As a female journalist, I also want to call out his derogatory language towards female reporters. He constantly demeans their intelligence and appearance, which is, again, wildly inappropriate. Gender based harassment is not fun. I've experienced it myself, and it is certainly not fun. We can do better. This year has been a unique Trump year as he seems less restrained. His decisions are more controversial, his posts have become more unhinged, and the people around him are very different from the previous term. Every time we think we've seen the craziest possible event, he surprises us with a new option we didn't know was possible. Now let's move on to people who didn't make the list, but I still want to mention. So my honorable mentions for this year are going to go pretty quick. First, Jonathan Bailey. He was People's Sexiest Man Alive this year. I feel like that's an accomplishment. He was also the highest grossing actor this year. He starred in Wicked for Good as Fiyero Tigelaar and Jurassic World Rebirth as Dr. Henry Loomis. I also want to mention Jimmy Kimmel, who was taken off air after his comments about the death of Charlie Kirk. Audiences banded together to defend his right to speak freely and opposing politically motivated censorship. His show was restored to air, and his return to the show had an emotional monologue. I just wanted to read an excerpt from that speech real quick. Quote, Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. If you believe in the teachings of Jesus, as I do, there it was. That's it. A selfless act of grace, forgiveness from a grieving widow. It touched me deeply, and I hope it touches many, and if there's anything we should take from this tragedy to carry forward, I hope it can be that and not this. End quote. The last person I will mention is Jesse Wells. He released multiple albums this year of folk songs written about current events and problems in society that are deeply moving and reminiscent of the protest songs of figures like Pete Seeger. He even had the opportunity to perform with the legendary Joan Baez. His work was comforting to me this year, so I just wanted to mention him and point you in his direction. I wish I could have included Stranger Things Season 5 on the list for films and shows this year. However, it won't be fully released until the last day of the year, so I am concerned something bad is going to happen to Nancy Wheeler, and I would not be comfortable endorsing the show as one of the best of the year if that happens. I don't want that ending. I did not do a book category this year, but I do want to shout out Sherry Frankie's memoir, The House of My Mother. It was one of my favorite reads this year, and I ended up citing it in my free article, Protecting Private Childhoods. Frankie's impact this year was huge, and I can't wait to see the good work she continues to do to legally protect the children of influencers. Now we get into the realm of speculation. Here are my predictions for who will make the list next year. So I'm going to go ahead and say I think Candace Owens has a fair shot. So her fame is continuing to grow, and she is tightening her grip on the conspiracy theory space, especially regarding the death of Charlie Kirk. I don't know if this momentum will continue into the new year, but there are many upcoming high profile trials that she could speak on and maintain her influence. I also think Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar will gain relevance next year. President Trump is continuing to speak about her, so I see this conflict escalating and her taking a stand against him. I think Zendaya and Robert Pattinson can make the list next year. They have 3 films together coming out next year. Like, they are both in all 3 of these films. So I can see them becoming prominent figures due to the press. If you're wondering, those films are A24's The Drama, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, and the third Dune film, Dune Part 3, which adapts the book Dune Messiah. Speaking of these films, I can easily see Dune Part 3 and The Odyssey making next year's list. I also want to reserve a place on this list for Sunrise on the Reaping because I have very high hopes for that film. In regard to shows, I would like to see Marvel Studios' Wonder Man succeeding and being of a similar quality to my favorite Marvel shows like Moon Knight and Hawkeye, but only time will tell. Now I'm going to start manifesting. I am manifesting a third Olivia Rodrigo album for next year. So I would like to see one of her songs make this list for 2026. She tends to write either punk and pop influenced high energy songs or calm ballads. But I think the next album will have more love songs that are like so American on her last album. She has a spot on the 2026 list if she wants to claim it. So let me know, Olivia. Please put out another album. Thank you for listening. Your support has meant a lot to me as I begin this project and figure out what I want it to look like and what is practical. So, I would love for you to engage with the website and with this episode through comments and likes. If you have a moment to give me some feedback to take into the next year, I would love to hear from you, and you can find that feedback form on the web version of this article. That's all for now. Thank you.